Welcome to 230 Dudes. I'm Antonio Harrison.
And I'm Charles Schuling.
And today the topic of discussion is a brain in a jar.
More like a petri dish.
Yes.
This is a news article that came out this week. Researchers at Ohio State University have grown the first independent brain from organic matter. It is the size of what they described as an eraser, like a pencil eraser. It's about the size of a 5-week-old fetus. And
they grew it from human skin cells.
Human skin cells,
yes.
Right. And this brain was developed by researchers at Ohio State University, as I said, with the ultimate goal of using it for commercial use in terms of testing on it for diseases such as Alzheimer's or autism, or even military use for post-traumatic stress. Basically, they think it is more humane and cheaper than testing on rodents or humans. The brain is 99% complete, which is the most complete brain that's ever been developed independently, and it's totally detached from stimuli, so it doesn't think, according to the researchers.
But it has every component: the spinal cord, the neurological system, everything.
Everything.
It's at 99% completion.
Right, and they're hoping that by week 16 to 20 it might actually be fully formed. The data has not been published at this point. The researchers have just announced it at a medical conference or a scientific conference of some kind. So it hasn't been reviewed by their peers. It's not published. It's not public yet because of patents pending and their ultimate goal of using it for commercial use.
So,
yeah.
Let's get into this.
Right, yeah.
I consider myself a scientific researcher, a scientific practitioner,
right,
as well as scientific research methods educator.
Yeah.
I have a lot of problems with this. Okay? So first, this is all based on commercial use.
Yeah.
They started in Ohio startup business.
Yes.
Which is why they have not released the data to any of their peers.
Right. They don't want anyone else using it or having it. And they even mentioned that they're very aware that there are a lot of other scientists trying to do similar things, so they're keeping it tight to the chest.
So anytime something that's done for the sake of humanity is not released because it's being used to held secret to capitalize on it, that's a red flag for me immediately.
Yeah.
Immediately. Second, autism. There has been no 100% accurate link to what causes autism. Some people think it's vaccines, some think it's a neurological disorder, some people think it's completely environment. For me, mild to moderate autism on the scale is majority environment. So the fact that there's no link, but they think that based on the assumption of a neurological link, that they're going to make that leap, that bothers me as well. But I know you mentioned Alzheimer's, right?
Yes.
Saying if it could help.
If it could help, why not, is kind of what my thought was.
Okay. I think we're going to jump into that a little later.
Okay.
Okay.
Come back around.
Yes. But again, no one knows what causes autism.
Right.
Right? It's more ethical than conducting animal trials on rodents.
They say, yes.
They say. We have no idea what effect it's going to have on a human being. You can never know a priori what's going to happen. They can run as many simulations as they want, but you're talking about open brain surgery to stick something foreign into someone's brain to attach to fire neurons and complete or fix something that's broken in the brain, right? Which brings me back to the Alzheimer's. You're going to tell me the reason we test on animals is because we make sure it's safe before we can test on humans.
Right.
Do we have direct correlation or point-to-point correspondence between animals? No, because we can think and vocalize, right? But we're going to take the risk that through simulations this was effective and try it on an Alzheimer's patient. So now either the Alzheimer's patient is completely fixed, or instead of forgetting your name Charles at the birthday party, they're a vegetable.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I'm sorry. I know people think it's inhumane to test on animals, but we are the apex predator. We are utilizing it for science and the advancement of mankind. Why would we not try it out on living organisms first and see the effects as opposed to we're going to run simulations or whatever else we're going to do, but not animal test and test it on humans.
Ultimately, yeah.
Yeah.
No, I think that's a pretty good point. At the same time, I feel like people are willing to take that risk. Like people that have Alzheimer's or maybe autism, even if it has only been done in simulation or only been done in a lab like this, they might still sign over to it because it's the best alternative.
Completely agree.
Okay.
You know, when death is at your doorstep,
yeah,
who knows what you'll do.
Right.
Right? And I'll save a point for that in a little bit as well.
Okay.
Okay. I don't like the fact that it's not been reviewed by peers.
I agree. That part's a little bit shady.
If you're not going to release your scientific data to the scientific population to review your work, the whole point of science is replication. If you do a study, I should be able to see your data, replicate it to ensure or verify or predict or increase the probability that what you did actually worked, was effective. But if you never give me your data, and you're just trying to hold it for a conglomerate and monopolize this commercial industry,
right. I couldn't agree more. When you've got what could be considered a groundbreaking scientific discovery and you're keeping it for personal gain, I think that's the wrong reason to even be in science in the first place.
And then the other thing is they say it costs cheaper than to conduct trials on, say, an actual human.
Right.
Well, at the end of the day, no matter how many simulations you run or how many trials you conduct on this brain in a petri dish, the first time you do it on a human and the last time you do it on a human is a trial.
Yeah, absolutely.
So you're still going to take that risk.
It's mostly just cutting rodents out of the equation.
Yeah.
As I see it, yeah.
I almost felt like it was, we're going to get it. They use the angle in their commercial startup where it's not inhumane to animals and it's going to be cheaper.
Yeah.
All of a sudden, you've got all the animal activists on board and all the economists on board, right?
Yeah.
Cheaper, no animals hurt, and you're going to save humans? Oh!
Yeah.
We're in it.
No, I totally agree. I totally agree with you on that.
Here's the part that I really want your opinion on.
Okay.
They say the brain is not thinking.
Right.
Because it has no stimuli in its environment.
Correct.
So the brain reacts to stimuli. You know,
right.
Me seeing you, this table, this microphone, this camera. The brain's only function is to think, is to shoot thoughts, neurons, and fire things for your body to be aware, for you to perceive. Even if you have it in a dark room, in a jar, guess what? The water it's in, the jar, the dark room, which I'm sure you can still see silhouettes, the researchers coming into the room, and if they're not, something has to come in the room, maybe a machine to manipulate this thing. That is all stimuli. There's no way you can tell me with a straight face that this thing isn't thinking because it's in a jar.
I understand what you're saying, and like I had the same thoughts. I just don't know enough. Like I feel like that's the one scientific point that I don't feel like I can speak on.
Well, and that's the biggest problem with the science of human behavior, right? I can't get inside your head and know what you're thinking.
Right.
Right? Everything that has to do with psychoanalytics or therapy, couch therapy, it's all based on armchair theory assumptions.
Sure.
Freud said, this seems like this matches with this, I'm going to create this theory. So now every time you talk to me about how you have road rage, I relate it to you wanting to have sex with your mother. Right? And who knows what's going on in your mind?
Right.
And when you talk to me, I don't know if you're lying, exaggerating, omitting.
Yeah, sure.
And if that brain is thinking inside that jar, we've gone beyond the realm of science. We've also now have an ethical concern.
Absolutely. I couldn't agree more that if there is, in fact, stimuli reaching this brain, then it is a major ethical concern. I don't know. I don't know what it's like to have never developed in any kind of form and to have thought if it does in fact, because it would be like with no language to put it into, it would be this kind of just mash of ideas that maybe weren't even fully realized. Like there could indeed be thought.
And I that is a good point. There may not be any kind of self-actualization.
Right.
right?
Right.
There may be no awareness of self or be able to formulate the thought because there's no language behind it.
Exactly.
But that doesn't mean that neurons aren't firing.
No, and I agree. I really do think that if there is even the slightest possibility of stimuli reaching this brain, because it said they have retinas, right?
Yes.
So, I don't think there's fully formed eyeballs, but there must be whatever it connects to in the back. You'd think that there's a possibility of stimuli getting in. And if there's even a chance, I think this would be an unethical thing.
My other point is, what's really our goal here?
Yeah.
Are we trying to live forever? Are you trying to live forever?
I'm trying to live forever.
You are?
Oh, yeah.
Really?
If they were able to take advancements in the direction in which that they could just like heal you quickly or extend your life by another 20 or 30 years, I think I'd be down for that.
So you'd want to go to 150, 160, 180 years old?
If it was like a healthy, energetic 150, 160, yeah.
How energetic can it be unless they're reversing the aging process?
Or slowing it down, yeah. I'd be okay with that.
The only way I want to live for eternity is if I'm a vampire, man. But that's where we're headed, right? What can we do to make everybody live longer?
Yes.
But what's one of the biggest problems we have on this planet? Overpopulation. So now we're going to keep everybody living on extra years, consuming more and more resources. We're playing with evolution.
Yeah.
And I brought this point up to you the other day, which is hard. When you talk about evolution, right? You get to a point where you are now engaging in circular reasoning. And here's what I mean. So you say, in evolution, strong survive, weak die, right? So if this person has Alzheimer's or this person has cancer and they die off, they were selected by the environment to die.
Sure.
But the advancement of science and the progress we've made is a part of evolution too.
I agree with that.
We as a human race have evolved to be able to think, create a language, a science that can advance things, right? Because it's no longer strictly the natural environment that's selecting life or death, and now it's contrived environments like playing with the human brain. Now it's no longer an issue of objective evolution of the environment taking over. Now it becomes a moral issue. Should we do it or should we not?
Right.
Once it becomes a moral issue, now it's subjective.
Yes.
Because what you think is morally appropriate, I may not think so.
Right.
And when you get to subjective, there's no place for it.
I think that's a path we've chosen on our own.
Right. But again, it's part of our evolution as a species.
And I agree with that as well. And I think it's an interesting road, and I think that there are a lot of doors opening right now. There's the possibility in 20 years that they could be like, hey, we've got this micro technology that if you want, we'll inject it in your body and it'll make you healthier and stronger for longer. And those kinds of things are choices that the human race will have to make. I think they're moral and ethical, even though they involve science. That's just the direction that we've already set ourselves on, and it's kind of an inevitable conclusion. But what happens at that choice point, we don't know.
I think it's the wrong route.
Yeah.
Do I think we should look for things to stop things like cancer? Because someone could always make the point, well, what about a little baby with cancer or AIDS? Mm-hmm. Do they deserve to die?
Yeah.
Not on a moral, humanistic standpoint, but on an evolutionary standpoint, they were selected. Whether that was because of what their parents did or whatever happened within their anatomy to not, have the same immune system, that is how people died off. That's still how people die off. Is it different to say I want to increase the lifespan of a 3-year-old to reach 60?
Yeah.
Very different. As opposed to a 60-year-old saying I want to live to be 160. So again, but now you're getting back into subjective and moral standing. So, are you okay with this?
I think I'm okay with it if we also do something to control the population. Like start up the Running Man. Like the Arnold Schwarzenegger movie or the Hunger Games or something like that. And if that's the case, then sure, yeah. No. No, I would say I'm probably not okay with this. This particular example that we're talking about specifically, I think that it's a scary territory, and until there's laws and more science behind it, and even public documentation of this study for us to know more about, we as the citizens of the United States, where this test is occurring, should have the information and the knowledge to make a decision on that more soundly. And right now, we just know the result, the supposed result of this test.
And the general results, not even the specific results.
Exactly.
I will ask you this one question. Knowing what you know now, just based on the information you have, if you had a child who had some disease or brain deformity or disability, and they came to you saying, your daughter or son could be the first person to try this?
If it was something terminal, I'd probably consider it.
Okay.
If it was non-terminal, I don't think I would.
So like autism.
Yeah, probably not.
What do you think?
Let us know. I think that was good.
Yeah.
I'm curious how long it was.
18.
All right. Welcome to 230 Dudes. I'm Charles
I thought I
Sheen.
was starting.
Okay, go for
And
it.
then-
I don't know what's going on.
Then I was going to say, we were talking about brain in a jar, then kick it to you to
All right.
tell the story. Good?
Yep.